So learning from here and at IA, I came into contact with, T.C. Cannon, but I didn't meet him until after I left IA, and I was a student at UNM, and somebody said, we're having a party at that bar down at the south of town called Bourbon and Blues. Does anybody remember? They're not going to raise their hand. Anyway, there's a book that came out recently of T.C. Cannon's work and his show, an incredible exhibit. And I wrote some poems to go with his song, with his titles, and then I wrote this one called Bourbon and Blues, because every person is part of a generation, and every generation is carrying a story forward. Every generation is like one person. And so our generation was thinking, who are we as Native people, and how do we, it's not just about survival, but it's about how do we know ourselves as we know ourselves, not always up against the colonizer. How do we know ourselves as people, cultural people with dignity and with these amazing stories of who we are and where we come from and where we're going. America is a very young country. It's probably, if you look at the timeline of the Western Hemisphere, which goes without, millions of miles in each direction, and here you can't see between my fingers is the history of this country. I like to think about that. Because we can get caught up too much as Native people and Americans in the story of, disappearing people. And we're here. Bourbon and Blues for T.C. Cannon. We were wild then, as we emerged from bloody history into the white clothes of pious religion and rules. They sent us off to Indian school to learn how to forget. Our mothers, fathers, the grandparents who loved and love us. We were still in the embrace of the God of the plains, horses of where sky and earth meet. Every day was a praise song. Every word or act had import into the meaning of why we are here as spirits dressed in colored earth. We were wild then, they said, because we spoke a different language and would not give over our spirits to them. And though they tried, they could not ever remake us. No matter how hard they drilled and forced us, we died over and over again in those stiff desks as our hearts walked home. We sat on the fire escapes outside our dorm rooms on cold winter nights, and we made plans to escape history. We were wild then. We didn't take well to mind imprisonment. Our dreams could not be confined by the walls of institutional green or misbegotten bureaucracy. We found alcohol, smoke, and anything else to break on through to the other side. Where our vision shivered there near the hills outside a campus, waiting for us to recover from the sickness of forgetfulness. Some of us did not make it. We carried their bodies far away from the cities and set their spirits free. This moment is for them, gives them nourishment of our love to keep moving toward home. We were wild then. I will always remember that night far south of town where we sat in the bar after our escape. You had gone to war, and I had become a painter, poet, and singer, and I was a poet mother, and I was learning how to sing. We talked history, heartache, the blues, and what it means to be an artist with nothing to lose because we lost everything here at the edge of America.